Hello Facebook, I'm John Moon, Park Manager here at Kings Mountain State Park, and today we are at our Living History Farm here at Kings Mountain State Park. Just a little tidbit on Kings Mountain State Park. Kings Mountain State Park was developed in the 1930s by the Civilian Conservation Corps, part of the New Deal recovery program developed by Franklin D. Roosevelt. It was a program established to put men back to work during the Great Depression, and Kings Mountain was a big part of that. However, today, again, we're live at our Living History Farm. We're going to learn a little bit different history about our park. Now, what I want to take a few minutes just to take you back in time and teach each of you a little bit about our Living History Farm here at Kings Mountain State Park. Kevin, if you would just kind of pan and show the farm and some of our facilities here. This Living History Farm is a replica of an early to mid 1800s South Carolina yeoman farm. It is typical of a farm that would have been found in the backcountry of South Carolina during this period. The buildings you see here were moved here in the 1970s, early 1970s. There's no doubt that Kings Mountain State Park's Living History Farm is a really, really cool place. You're probably wondering what a yeoman farmer is, and he is a person that owns a small farm, usually under 100 acres, and he works his farm, cultivates the land, and grows crops and builds things to help provide for his family, usually very poor. They usually don't have a whole lot of money. They also will, so from time to time, will make extra things and grow extra things to sell to make a little extra money for their families and whatnot. Today I'm with two of our program specialists here at the farm. They help us with our programs, putting on programs for school groups and our monthly programs that we do here at the farm, usually every month. Miss Peggy Jolly and Mr. Buck Jolly. Y'all say hello to Facebook.
Hey, Facebook.
Hello, Facebook.
As we practice social distancing due to the circumstances surrounding us, what do y'all say we take them back in time?
Good deal. Let's go.
Miss Peggy, can you tell us a little bit about a lady's day, typical day at the farm?
Typical day starts way before sunup. Mom gets up, would be me, make sure all the kids are getting up and getting dressed. Go down, if you have an upstairs like we do here, but we go and start the fire or stoke the fire, start making breakfast. And then, as the kids came down, she'd send them off to their individual chores they would have to do. Most of the time, she was directing children, preparing meals, directing children, and preparing meals.
So how about like the children? We talked about cooking breakfast, obviously for the kids, obviously the men of the farm that are working, but
Right.
the children, what is their day like?
Tay for the kids, depending on your age, you had a chore to do, or chores, every day. If you were old enough, you were sent out to milk the cows. If you were a little younger, you would go gather eggs. After breakfast, you would go tend to the animals, help harvest, weed. If it was a row crop, such as corn, during those times, they would go out and help pick the corn and shuck, make a lot of soap. The children really were the workforce of the farm. The more kids you had, the more they got done.
So those kids, can you talk a little bit about education and how they might have been educated, on the farm? Would that be something the ladies would have taken care of as far as education?
Basically, the mom was school teacher, mother. Most yeoman farmers were not very well educated. Usually the only book that was in a yeoman's farm was a Bible. Okay. So they were taught Bible verses and learned how to read by reading the Bible.
So a lot of their hands-on learning was the farm work. They learned how to be
right.
a yeoman farmer
Correct.
for themselves for later on when they had to provide for their families.
Or as they got older, they may go off to another farm and be an apprentice.
I got you. So during a time, for example, like let's just use this COVID-19 as a little example. how would they have handled something similar, or at least in your opinion, with what you do know, how would they may or may not have handled something like we're dealing with now?
Unfortunately, or fortunately, they may have never known about it. Communication was, your nearest neighbor may be 10, 12 miles away, so you didn't see a lot of people, so therefore the interaction wasn't there. And also, unfortunately, the medical field was more homegrown, so if it was something such as COVID-19, they would not have known what herbs to make, so it would have been a trial and error trying to get someone well.
So a lot of times that might have been a blessing for them, as opposed to now where we have social media and live
Exactly.
feeds. We're in the know of everything, so they would have not have known.
They would have not have known there was a pandemic.
And I would imagine they were not down at the local mercantile, like taking all the toilet paper. Right?
No, because they didn't have toilet paper back then.
Correct. Good stuff. Well, listen, is there anything else that you can think of that, just as we are live, that might be beneficial to you?
We would love for everybody to come out and visit us when we have our programs, and we love having school groups. So just contact Mr. John and set something up.
Mr. Buck, I see you're here at the Blacksmith Forge. Can you tell us a little bit about how this would have been something special or really needed for the yeoman farmer?
Well, John, most of the time a yeoman farmer on a farm like this would not have been a professional blacksmith. But he knew enough about metalworking that he knew he had to keep his plow points sharp, had to make chains, nails, wagon tires, a little bit of everything around the farm. So he learned enough about it to take care of those chores. Now, and I mentioned one there, wagon tires. Let's talk about wagon tires just a minute. When you need a tire for your car, or your mom and dad needs a tire, they go to the nearest tire store and they get asked to buy a tire and get it put on. When you need a tire on a wagon wheel around here, then you've got to take a piece of metal, flat metal, you heat it, and then as you heat it, you bow it around, and then you brad it together. And if you have measured correctly, then that tire will fit that wagon wheel perfectly. So the tire is a piece of flat metal that's been heated and rounded onto the wagon wheel and the spokes. So that's what we would do there. Now, there's a lot of other things that are needed around the farm. The ladies always love a meat fork. You go kill a deer and they want a big fork to turn that pot roast over to cook that deer meat with. So there's hooks, there's things that you facilitates and makes life easier on the farm.
So they would have made all of this right down from nails that would have been used to build something to the hinges
To the barn
that
door
held the
hinges.
door on.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Do you have time? Can you show us kind of how the process works and how you would go about building one of these items?
Well, probably the quickest one is to maybe show you a nail.
Okay.
And what I'm doing is I'm pumping the bellows, which is a tool, and the bellows blows air up under the center of my fire. It's like sitting around a campfire and you pull out a stick and you blow on it, and it gets bright orange, gets hotter. Well, the fire, as I pump it, it's going to get hotter and hotter and hotter, and you'll start seeing the flames come out of it, out of the top of it. And while it's doing that, I'm heating the metal. So what I'm looking for is for the color of the metal, and that's how I tell what temperature it is, by the color of the metal. So once it gets hot enough, then I'm going to swing out to the anvil, and I'm going to begin to forge it or shape it.
So how hot would you think that might be?
That's about probably 1,800 to 2,000 degrees.
Wow.
And see, it's just like Play-Doh. It's when you get it warmed up, you shape it any way you want to shape it. Now I know some of you are thinking that my eyesight must be mad because I keep missing that iron, and you got to strike while the iron's hot, so I got to get it hot again. But as I was beating that on the anvil, I learned a long time ago, and most blacksmiths did, that if they keep the rhythm going, it's less taxing on the muscle. So once I start hitting it, if I want to look at it or turn it, I keep the rhythm going so that I don't have to start.
So you're working off the bounce.
Stop.
It's a bounce.
It's a bounce, and working off the bounce, and that saves my muscle. Otherwise, my arm would cramp up pretty quickly if I had to stop, start, stop, start. Let's see if we back up the temperature. All right, let's see if we can finish this. We've got the first part of our nail done. We need to put a little head on it, so to get it back in the fire again. I can do it without losing it. And I'm gonna be around on the end, but I'm on the post vise over here.
So the bellows, that's what they're looking at here.
That is correct.
This is what blows the air into the fire through the chamber.
Yeah. When I pull the handle down, the bottom chamber pumps the top one up, the clapper valve closes, and it blows it underneath the center of the fire. Okay, so we put a little head on it, and now we'll cool it off. So now we have your nail. And blacksmiths are good about this. We took a round piece of metal, we made it square, and put a point on it, and then we put a head on it. They always love to take round metal and make it square, and square metal and make it round. Just one of them things. You just do that.
That is really neat. So, I guess you're going to be here for a while if I need 1,000 of these to build me a house, right?
No, if my children are all up here in the house, they're going to come down here and make nails. I'm going hunting or plowing or something.
That is really, really neat. So, so you said this, they made this. You're telling us a little bit about the temperature. You said that's around 2,000?
It's between 1,800 and 2,000 degrees in the center of it.
And that's what you need to start to get your metal hot enough to actually start to make anything or turn it?
If I'm going to weld those, like welding two pieces of metal together, I've got to go up a little higher, around 22 to 2,500 degrees. And you'll see the metal, it just starts doing this like it's fixing to melt.
Yes, sir.
And you lay the two pieces of metal together and start hitting them, and the fibers form right together with each other, and they're molded into a solid piece of metal.
So does anybody out there have any questions for Mr. Buck on blacksmithing? Maybe a few things you saw there that you didn't understand? Does anybody out there have a few questions? Kevin, if you can let us know if anybody's asking any questions.
How long have you been a blacksmith?
Well, my career was a human resources manager, and I came to an event here, and I watched a blacksmith, and I said, you know, that's something I'd love to learn how to do. And I asked him during a break, and he said, well, son, go to the public library, check out all the books on blacksmithing, and when you have read them, come back. And so I went and checked them out, and I read them, and I came back, and when I got back, he said, well, sweep up, get these leaves out of here, get me some coal off the pile and bring it in, go get a bucket of water and do this, that, and the other. And I was in an apprentice program that I didn't know I was in, but I was to watch everything that he did. And then one day he just walked up and he said, I got to go to the restroom. You do the next demonstration, and there must have been 50 people out here. And so I started doing what he had shown me, and that's how I learned to be a blacksmith and then practiced it on from there.
Somebody was asking about making a knife. How is that hard to do?
Knives are very hard to do because you got to start and flatten the blade. You got to temper the blade, and you temper it with oil and different substances to make it to case harden it. And it takes a little bit more time than it does just what we showed here.
And got another one that says, do you ever make a star like nailhead?
Yes, I can make a star like nailhead, but if I'm going to do that, I will do a form in the star and drive it down into it to make it.
And that's it with the questions right now.
Okay.
Got one more just come through. Ever made a horseshoe?
Well, they are horseshoes that we display, but generally we leave that to the farriers this day and age. Back then they would have made them, and there's something about picking up the hind leg of an 1,800-pound animal and driving a hot nail into his hoof that just doesn't excite me, so I leave that to the farriers.
Got Liam, age 6, wants to know how long it takes to make a hook.
To make a hook, time's kind of irrelevant because we get up when the sun comes up and we go quit working when we go to bed, so we just work. But in probably about 15-20 minutes you can make a hook.
And we got one more that says, what kind of metal was you using?
I'm using black iron, and it's low carbon steel is what you have to buy now to do it.
Well, there you have it, friends. Just a little trip back in time. If you are interested in visiting the park, you can check us out on our Facebook, on Facebook. But you can also check us out on the web at southcarolinaparks.com. Whether it's regarding programs that we do, school groups, you won't find better program specialists than these two guys. They do a really good job. They really know the park really well. They know this farm, they love it, and they would love to have your next school group here when we get to that point. Hopefully in the fall we're able to get back into some normalcy, and I truly believe that that's going to happen, and we'll be back out at the farm having some really cool events and doing some really cool stuff. If you have other questions about the farm, feel free to email me at jmoon@scprt.com. I'll answer any questions you have, those that I can't answer. Mr. Buck and Miss Peggy will be more than happy to help me with that, or the staff and the ranger staff here at the park. So again, thank you for hanging out. You guys say bye.